Hello, Easton, and welcome to the Masked Rabbis Roundtable. I'm Rabbi Peter Hyman, Rabbi at Temple B'nai Israel, and we are literally at the Rabbis Roundtable. And as you can see, and I will introduce my first guest momentarily, but we are masked, believing that you need to be serious and take precautions during this time. And my first guest today, not a stranger to the Rabbis Roundtable at all, Tracy Ward, who is the Executive Director of the Easton Economic Development Corporation. And thank you for being here. And let's just talk about what's going on. I mean, it's a very strange time, and I know everybody is feeling that strangeness. So from your perspective, with all of the COVID stuff, what do you see? And share with the audience your perspective and your thoughts.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me here today.
Thank you for being here.
So, yes, I mean, obviously I have a outlook that really thinks about this in terms of the economic development lens.
Sure.
And how it's affecting the town of Easton and beyond. I would say that it's been a real mixed bag. We've seen some positive outcomes as well as some negatives, of course, and we all know that. Our organization, when this occurred, we turned our attention immediately to communication. I think the most important thing during this time are opportunities like the Rabbi's Roundtable, and any other opportunity where you can get information that can help guide your decision making, whether you be a business or a resident. So we have been doing bi-weekly newsletters, and I wanted to just say right off the top, if anyone in the audience would like to get a bi-weekly newsletter giving people up-to-date information, we have great Q&A interviews every 2 weeks. We've had Dr. Frida Wadley, we've had Kelly Griffith, Scott Beatties with Shore Bank Shares, the mayor, and others. Just send an email to info@eastonedc.com. So I just wanted to get that out of the way because information is so critical.
No, it really is. You're right.
The other thing is the county. The county has done a phenomenal job around economic development, and Cassandra Van Hooser is the head of the economic development efforts there. They actually created a pool of about $1.2 million to help our local businesses.
Wow.
And so businesses were encouraged. I would call these the Main Street businesses. This would be your restaurants, your salons, the places that we frequent every day, to give them a helping hand of a grant through this incredible time. So that has gone very, very well. And then I would say the town itself has made a number of moves in order to make it easier for businesses to deal with something as simple as curbside pickup, right? You want to go pick up your dinner now, you're not going to be eating in the restaurant, a place to park your car for 10 minutes so you can run in, those kinds of things, all the way down to a lane closure on the promenade, on the Washington Street, which was going to be the promenade. Over the summer was drummed up a lot of interest, and so that's actually continuing. We're kicking off a number of projects around that. So it's had a real mixed bag. Overall, Easton is on fire. I mean,
that's what it seems to me. I know just from my perspective, certainly at the temple, but also I know in some of the other religious institutions, nobody seems to have missed a beat, thank God.
I think that's true. I think that what we're seeing are a lot of people that had second homes here that are coming back and saying, I actually can work from here.
Yep.
And so they're bringing their children, they're enrolling their kids in schools. We're seeing waiting lists in certain grades at some of our schools.
I didn't know that. That's interesting.
We've had, I was just hanging out on a Saturday in front of the courthouse recently waiting for a friend to show up to visit from Baltimore. 3 languages in 30 minutes, I heard.
Really?
Yes. People are coming from all over to explore what we have here because it's so amazing and it's low density and it's high in terms of its quality and its experience.
You know me, and the audience has heard me say this, I think Easton's a remarkably sophisticated area with, and lots of stuff going on that attracts people on a lot of levels. So
Yeah.
yes, this merely proves it and underscores it, sure. So,
Absolutely.
I've noticed, sadly, that there are a few storefronts that have closed, and can you give us some update on that and where we are with this as well? I mean, that's the B side of the sad B side of this
Absolutely.
coin.
Yeah, so, first of all, let's back up. Even before COVID,
Yeah.
we were seeing a number of changes in the retail marketplace,
Yes.
particularly.
Yes.
The consumer has been making a choice to go online for their purchasing for some time now.
Yes.
The COVID-19 accelerated that.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so I think that some of our retailers certainly aren't competitive in that marketplace, and maybe they didn't have the strength in the business model. Others did pivot, and that's great news. So where you might see a vacancy, I imagine in the future we're just going to see a different retailer with a different business model take its place. I would say overall our shopping centers have seen some vacancies, but at the same time you can look at where there's been investment, like by Rise Partners out of Tennessee, and they actually invested in the shopping center where they've brought in Marshalls, Ulta, Five Below. All of these have gone in over the summer during this COVID period and are doing fine, and they are continuing to invest, and in fact have a new dental office under construction over at that shopping center. So I think it's a mixed bag, but I think the retail market in Easton is still really strong.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. I'm really glad to hear that. I mean, that's what it looks like to me. I mean, I haven't been in the grocery stores in a long time, but when I go by the shopping centers, there are cars, there's traffic.
Yes.
Yes. I like to cook, but I do miss going out to dinner and so that socialization aspect. But no, that's positive, and I think that again speaks powerfully for the community that we enjoy and that has been developed here. Speaking of construction projects around town, the EEDC organized a groundbreaking event for the Mistletoe Hall project. Would you give us some insight and feedback on that, please?
Well, I'm glad you asked about it, because this was one of those things where it was, I think it was sometime in May, when the mayor said to Natalie and I, who Natalie works with me,
Right.
I want to have a groundbreaking for the new industrial park, which is Mistletoe Hall, that the
Right.
town owns and is developing, at least the infrastructure for it. Now, who does a groundbreaking in the middle of COVID? I mean, everybody was still working from home, but we did, the mayor is the mayor, and he really, he's a real leader in that sense.
Absolutely.
And so he got us in gear, and we had an incredible groundbreaking where we had some people on site, about 30, and then we streamed it. And since then, of course, we've all learned how to do this, but back then we didn't know. So the industrial park gives us an opportunity to attract and or work with businesses in our community that want to expand, but need a larger footprint in an industrial area.
Yeah.
We did not have adequate supply of industrial lots. We went ahead with that groundbreaking, and since then we have 4 out of the 9 lots already
Really?
requested, not approved, but
Okay.
requested.
Okay, that's serious.
Very, very, very serious. Like, we did not
Wow.
expect, we expected this to build out over 10 years, and I think what we're seeing is pent-up demand.
Interesting. That's really encouraging and positive, and
It is.
kind of exciting, actually.
It is, because some of these are going to offer jobs that, are high wage or high technical and
Yeah.
opportunities for our residents that we did not have before.
Wow, that's well, I'm smiling, and I realize that nobody can see us
Right,
smiling
right.
under our
We have
masks.
to smile extra hard
Yes,
to get the.
yeah. And again, speaking about the mayor, who I think is a very competent and solid leader, and I've always enjoyed my relationship with him. He recently announced that the EEDC would take responsibility for all economic development activities. That's a pretty
Yes.
heavy responsibility on your shoulders, including the administration and oversight of stuff going on downtown activities.
Yeah.
Share with us your thoughts and the expectations and where you see this going.
Well, I think it's a phenomenal opportunity for all of us. We were not expecting that. That did take us a bit by surprise. That being said, it's a smart move when you look at it. What happened over the summer and with COVID was we realized that we can't really have two organizations attempting to get something through the town processes. It's confusing.
Mm-hmm.
And so this gets everybody under one sort of roof, if you will.
One umbrella, yeah.
So that we can go in a united way and present what we need to the town, and that they can come to the table with the resources that they want to bring to the community. So having everybody in alignment was really important. When you align organizations that way, there's also some potential cost savings. Let's be real. I pay for accounting services. I pay for an audit, for example. So these are things that all can start to fall in under our operations very easily. And then more money, more resources can flow to the community. So we are in conversations now. Obviously, the Easton Business Alliance has been handling this as a separate organization, and they've done a phenomenal job for many years. And we've seen a real acceleration of their excellence in the last couple of years. So we don't want to lose that momentum at all. So what we're doing is working very closely with them to determine how do we do this in such a way that we don't lose momentum, but we can leverage the best of the two organizations into something greater. I think that what we're going to see come out of this are some of the Easton Economic Development Corporation board members who actually, some of them don't actually live in the town of Easton, but they care very much about the town of Easton. So we're going to bring a sort of larger umbrella of people to the table. We're going to have committees where people can participate, so the public can get involved in our committees. We're going to have a meeting probably with the business community and the residents probably somewhere around November-ish to really gain some input from the community, and as well as provide more information about how we're going to move forward from here.
So if a citizen wants to participate in this, contact you, contact the EEDC office? Or,
absolutely. So info at Easton Economic Development Corp is the perfect way. We'll loop people in, whether it be into a committee, into our newsletter, or in some other way. Perhaps it's a business that actually wants to locate here. Whatever, we'll get them to the right person.
Wonderful. It's really it's exciting what's going on.
It is.
Especially given the oppressive realities that we have to now embrace and endure.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts? Any other things you want to share with us before we conclude this segment, Tracy?
Well, I just want to encourage everyone, if you haven't been to Easton lately, I know not everybody has been able to come out or has wanted to come out. First of all, we're having spectacular October weather. I mean, just some of the best weather.
Yes.
And I would just encourage you to come out, do a little walking tour of Easton, check out some of our new stores. We got a new bookstore this summer.
It's fabulous.
It's fabulous.
If you haven't been, this is an unsolicited, unasked for advertisement, not really, but it's really that's really very good. It's
great to have it.
Yeah.
We were also devastated by the loss of our former bookstore, the newsstand.
Yep.
Now we have another one. check it out and check out all the other amazing things because we are still very vibrant in downtown.
Absolutely, I would agree. We have been talking with my friend, the executive director of the Easton Economic Development Corporation, Tracy Ward. Tracy, thank you for taking the time to mask.
Yes, thank you, absolutely.
And come down
Anytime.
to the Rabbi's Roundtable.
Wonderful.
You will be back, you know, as you know, we'll have you back several times to give us updates. And appreciate your leadership and your hard work. Easton, we will be back momentarily.
Did you know? MCTV programming is available online. Find our shows like Rabbi's Roundtable, Carlisle's Chesapeake, The Shameless Picture Show, Conversations with Sherry, and the Avalon Theater Presents at youtube.com/Midshore Community Television.
And we are back, and you are seated at the Rabbi's Roundtable, masks and all. And I'm delighted, actually it's the big boss, to have the president and CEO of the Avalon Foundation, Al Bond, at the Rabbi's Roundtable. Thank you for coming back to the Rabbi's Roundtable, Al. Good to see you. Always a pleasure, and you know, as you know, I'm deeply appreciative of the opportunity that you give me to do this for, God, more years than I can think of.
Years now,
I know, several years. Anyway, I just thought we would talk about what's happening. I know there's a lot of new stuff, very exciting things happening.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say, tell us what's new, and we'll go from there.
So I guess in early September, the governor announced that we were moving to phase 3 of the plan, and as a part of that, the theater was able to reopen under very limited density. So we went to work on how we would actually implement all the rules and what the actual density could be as opposed to the maximum allowable density. And that was fairly successful. I think that, we're doing simulcasts that are of a much higher quality than what we could do, from a remote standpoint. So, because we've got all the equipment in the building, we've made that investment before any of this came along. So we're kind of ready to go once we were allowed to have indoor performances. And we limited the audience to 20 people. So in a room that is made for 400, that is really spreading people out in a way that we believe we can do safely. And the real reason why we're having indoor audiences at all is there are certainly people who really are dying to go out and see some live music, but also maybe that's a wrong turn of phrase. I'll back that one back.
They anxious.
Are very eager to consume live music. The other component of it, though, which people don't necessarily think about, but performers really need an audience. There's a whole interaction and reaction that happens when you're performing in front of a group of people that is different from when you're just looking at the camera.
Just as a quick confirmation, it's not exactly apples to apples, but I've been giving, and many of my friends have been giving sermons, my clergy colleagues, to empty sanctuaries, and you want to make a point or you tell a joke, and you want that reaction, that human.
It's just
so. Yes, I understand about the performers needing that.
It feels kind of contrived when you don't have an audience there to interact with.
Yes.
That we believe is making the performances better, the ones that we're simulcasting, and certainly the audiences are much larger.
Yes.
The ones that aren't here are much larger than the ones that are.
Yes.
But as a way of convening community, which is fundamentally what the Avalon's mission is about,
of course,
it's very, very limited in terms of what you can do indoors. And so we started really thinking about how could we, now that we were allowed to have outdoor performances with up to 250 people, that's the governor's standard, what would that look like? and where should we do it, and how would we put a program like that together? And there were, I guess, 5 or 6 of us that are Avalon staff that walked around in downtown Easton looking for all of the open spaces that we could find, and thinking about whether there would be an appropriate places to have performances. What I'll tell you is there's a surprising number of open spaces in downtown Easton.
Interesting.
And it was actually it was a goal for us to locate this as close to the downtown as we could,
Sure.
because we wanted to have the same kind of positive impact
Continuity.
that we do when we put on a show. Every
Sure.
restaurant is busy. We would love to see restaurants be busy.
Of
So
course.
and accommodations and all of it, the stores, so forth. So when we looked around, we found a pretty ideal location. We obviously think a lot about sound based on what we do, and one of the things that you want to do is to put a location that would be outdoors where the sound could really travel and potentially disturb neighbors and so forth in as low of a place as you can. So the site that we found, which is at the northern end of Talbot Town, just kind of behind the Napa Auto Parts between there and Spring Hill
Oh,
Cemetery,
sure, yes.
is the lowest spot in the downtown area.
Oh, I know that.
And why that's important is if sound is going in a direction and there's nothing to impede it, it will eventually, the sound waves sort of spread out a little bit and it gets quieter and quieter, but it goes for a very, very long distance
Right.
if it's not impeded. But if it hits the ground and the ground is sort of sloping uphill, then the sound waves hit and bounce up instead of out.
Interesting.
And so it is, sort of a big natural sound sink to be producing the sound at the low point.
Very interesting. That's terrific.
It was one of the reasons why that site was seen as something that could really work. Also, the owners of the shopping center are the Stoltz family, who have been longtime supporters of the Avalon.
Yes.
And so when I introduced this idea, let's create a live music venue at the shopping center, they certainly understood it from a lot of different layers. And obviously Jack and Susan live here,
Right.
but their son Keith, I had the opportunity to really do a lot of work with him years ago when we created the Stoltz listening room.
Yes,
That was
yes.
really Keith as a gift to
I
his
remember.
parents.
I remember that.
And so, Keith is an interesting guy. He's been a very successful developer like his dad was, but he's also gotten involved in a number of businesses that are not particularly commercial development related, including owning Electric Lady Studios in New York City.
Really?
Yeah, so Jimi Hendrix recording studio, which is, everybody that ever made a hit record probably is
Pretty much.
recorded there over many, many years.
Wow, I
And
didn't
so,
know
he, because of that, is acutely aware of how devastating the pandemic has
Yes.
been for the music industry generally.
Absolutely.
And so, I think he had we like the Avalon, we want to help them with their problems. And then he had, we want to make sure that the downtown businesses are getting the support that they can. And then it was the notion of, let's go put some musicians back to work. Because figuring that out, on a larger scale really is, a pretty important industry need.
It's profoundly serious. It's overwhelming, and this cannot end soon enough because
We're all there.
it has impacted all of us.
Every
All of
single
us.
person,
Yeah.
around the planet
You know,
is,
And I've been saying, actually, I gave a sermon where I said, who would have thought in the 21st century, in the United States of America, we would have been brought to a standstill by a virus?
Right.
But
Well,
It's
you know,
interesting.
it is, they've been predicting this possibility for a long time.
know.
And,
I
you
know.
know, here we are, it happened.
Yeah.
And,
But the
Yeah,
Avalon
so-
is such an important institution for a lot of reasons to our community.
well, you know, again, I think that that community building mission is one that, yeah, is always needed, but it is particularly needed in this moment. And so we've really thought about, like, how can we, continue to serve that mission and do it in a way that's safe. So
Safe
basically,
and responsive.
everything that we've done has been, we took the game book and threw it out the window.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just started over
You have
with
to.
every single piece of it.
Yeah.
So, I feel, very good about the notion of gathering people in the way that we're doing it, and with it's not just about, having more room or having it outdoors, because certainly outdoors is, they say, 20 times, safer than indoors.
That's right. That's right.
So that's great. That's one risk mitigating component. But you have to do all the stuff.
Absolutely.
So, it's the sanitation stuff, it's the masks that nobody wants to wear, including me, but,
No choice.
No
choice.
If we're going to really mitigate risk in a way that makes it, something that is a reasonable thing for a person to choose to do, then, we have to follow all the rules. So,
And I was, as you were talking, I was thinking about the farmer's market.
yep.
What a unique role this now plays. I mean, I always liked the farmer's market, but now people
Sure.
being outside, where it's, as you say, where it's safer and maintaining social distance.
It has been a real lifeline for a lot of people.
Yes, it
and
really
and
has.
I'll turn it around because there's always the consumer side of things, and I think that people have been enormously appreciative of the fact that we got the farmers market going. Even in the very early days of it, it was deemed an essential business. We figured out our drive-through farmers market at first, and now we're in a phase where we can get back downtown, and that's great. But when you think about agriculture on the Eastern Shore, there's certainly the big commodity agriculture that's corn and soybeans
Right.
that's going on into the chicken industry. But there are a lot of farmers that are growing produce that is
Right.
really going into the restaurant business.
Correct.
And so those guys lost their customers
Yep.
just out of the blue. And the radishes are in the ground, they're growing, like you can't not
Right. Nobody. Yeah. No,
by the
it's-
time it all, because the timing. So it was really helpful, I think, to get the farmers market open so that there was another way to get that
Yes.
food out into the world. And especially in the beginning when the supply chains were so disrupted. I think that that was the first thing that we brought back. And I think out of regard both for the need from the consumer standpoint, and also we need to keep our farmers in business.
Absolutely. As a
Everybody
matter-
talks about how much they love this rural landscape.
Yeah.
If you don't have viable farms, you're not going to have a rural landscape.
That's for sure.
Period.
Last
So-
time I was at the farmer's market, maybe 3 weeks ago or so, I was walking around and I said to a couple of the vendors, "I'm really glad you're here." And they thanked me. They said, "But we're really glad that the Avalon has sponsored this so we can be here."
Mhm.
And I'm not being gratuitous. That's what was really said to me, and it makes a difference, especially now. Especially now.
So again, we as you know have a lot of different programs, and it sort of feels a little bit like a crazy quilt when you think about we blow up explosives in the middle of in the early July, and then we put a fine art festival on in the end of the month.
It's okay. It
but
works.
the unifying element of all that
Exactly.
is bringing the community together for shared experience.
Absolutely.
And then, through that, you build some more understanding of like who your neighbors are. And, it sort of, it creates a sense of humanity
Well-
that is so important in
Absolutely.
everything else.
Listen, I to what you just said, and I'm not being egocentric. You've allowed me to do the Rabbi's Roundtable.
Sure.
What has been communicated in these shows, not between my clergy colleagues and the other interesting people and yourself, and it's a huge service that the Avalon provides. I'm grateful to be a part of it.
Yeah, it's really gratifying for me personally to get to do this work, for sure.
And you do it well.
So I'll jump back for a second to the Stoltz Pavilion.
Yeah.
Once we figured out where, and that there was some interest in actually bringing it to light, we really had to think a lot about what kind of a structure. It has to be covered and it has to be open on the sides. Those are the things that we knew for sure. But there are other elements. If we're going to put up a tent, most tents have poles, and poles are the enemy of good sight lines.
Yeah.
So, and the bigger the tent, the more poles.
Right.
And so, we started thinking and looking around to see if we could find a structure that was made that didn't have any poles, that could span a really large area. And so, I bumped into this product that, is actually used a lot in sound environments because it is also has lots and lots of compound curves. So curved in two different planes at the same time. That's a good thing in a sound world. You want, what you don't want are
Solid
parallel,
walls.
surfaces that are, like that. So, we found this product. It's actually made in British Columbia in Canada.
Oh, wow.
And it relies on a truss system that comes together in a big sort of, if you can imagine, a very large Pringles potato chip.
I got you. Yeah.
So, and then it has parts that come off that finish it up. But it's a huge truss that kind of has a big, looks kind of like a saddle would be the other way to look at it. So that's a very specialized product. It had to be made for this, for us. And
you had specifications for our own needs, your own needs.
Right.
Yeah.
So, what we've got is this, this tent that is basically pretty ideal for exactly what we're doing. And it's quite large. It's 60 feet wide.
Wow.
And 111 feet long.
That's big.
So it's a big area that's covered, and that is really how you get the spacing. And so when you buy a ticket or tickets, because we're selling them either in 2s or 4s, you get your own area that we're calling them pods.
Right.
But and because it's outdoors, we decided that we would get comfortable patio furniture. So you can sit in a love seat, or there's
cool.
The table is actually a fire pit table. So there'll be a heat source there.
Nice.
And sit by the fire and watch the performance
and listen and enjoy.
Right. Yeah.
Very exciting. You guys are to be commended seriously for this. It's a great addition, and
right.
I'm looking forward to the first gig that I can get to.
Yeah.
So,
now, the other thing that we really came to understand as we're developing out all the elements of this is that the problems that we were solving for are the same problems that lots of organizations in our community have.
Absolutely.
Anybody who convenes people together is struggling with these same issues.
Absolutely.
So, we really imagine this to be not just a music venue for the Avalon, but also a resource for the entire community.
Yep.
Festival of Trees was canceled. That's important for hospice. Hospice is important for us in
know.
our community. Could they have it in the Stoltz Pavilion? Maybe they could. I haven't talked to them about that, but there's so many organizations that do such good work here. And, so I've really been thinking of it as something that, we're going to come out once we understand what the real time involved in opening and closing it we're going to come out with rental rates that are the lowest that we can possibly contrive.
Cool.
And for really simple things where there's not like a whole lot of production.
Right.
If the Boy Scouts want to use it to meet or something like that, then they're going to be very, very low rates. And if it involves more production, then we'll have to charge for it.
Of course.
But we really are, we want everybody out there to be thinking about how they could use this to do what they do.
Wonderful.
And that includes, religious services or
Sure.
Bible study or however the people.
Let me know, I can teach.
Yeah. Right.
No, but seriously, this whole time period is forcing everybody to re-examine and readjust, and we will be creating, I think, a new normal as a result of this.
I'm sure of it.
So,
I think that, while probably everybody, as soon as it's safe to do it, is going to take those masks off. I bet everybody keeps washing their hands more than they did before.
That's absolutely
I bet
correct.
that, there's all kinds of ways, and there's simple ways, and more, sort of, profound changes in
Without question.
how people value things. So
Thank you, Al, for
yeah.
taking the time to be here. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been talking to Al Bond. Al is the CEO and president of the Avalon Foundation, who oversees some very exciting and visionary changes for our community, very positive, very visionary. I always enjoy when you come down to the Rabbi's Table.
Thanks.
You'll come down in a few months and give us a report on how we are
Absolutely.
progressing.
I will do. Thanks.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've been seated at the Rabbi's Roundtable. It's a pleasure, as I said, even masked, to be here, and we will see you next time, Easton, on the Rabbi's Roundtable.